Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We got Big E and Rudo coming to you live on day 2 of NHL free agency and also day 2 of the Avs development camp, which we actually got to go see, take a look at. We'll talk about that. We'll get into something about NHL free agency. I don't know. I mean, we can just start there if you want. There are a couple of names that continue to drop off the board. We see Cody Glass stay in New Jersey. Peltier,
he was on all our boards.
Yeah, Peltier does end up going as well, though. So some of those fringe, I don't want to call them fringe players, but guys that were on the fringes of the list, right, are starting to fall off. And that is the big question, Sergeant Price. Where is Ehlers? Where is he? When's he going to sign? E, do you think this could get done today, or do you think this is going to drag out?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. If I knew him more personally, I could tell you. I mean, sometimes it goes with your personality. And you're like, oh, he's that guy that's going to drag it out. Sure. And I get it. You know, it's a big decision. And where are you going to be? Where's your, I don't even know if he's married or, again, I'm just purely speculating. Where are we going to live? Where's my where are we? My wife or girlfriend or kids go to school. So that's kind of what guys look at in free agency. Usually you kind of look at all that beforehand, because that's me, and then you go and sign, because you don't wait, because, but that's me. I don't have patience. I don't know. I mean, it could be sometimes where you see guys drag it out and they just can't make decisions, and and then, but then the other guys fall off, right? Because it's totally different markets. What I'm talking about, not markets, brackets. Like Glass is in a different bracket.
His contract has no effect on what Nikolai Ehlers is going to sign.
Exactly. Or like we talked about. God, my brain with names right now is horrendous. Peltier. That's kind of a fun little deal. 3 years. Yeah. I mean, that's good on him. 2-way, one way. A place that they probably liked him as draft year in Tampa. The Grizzly Bear. The bear, Grizzly, he's still out there. And there are still options. It is important to note that it's not like the market has completely dried up. That's for sure. But P.O. Joseph, he's gone. Yeah. Names that we had talked about, obviously, that everybody's talking about, they're starting to fall off. But we'll see. I think Ehlers is definitely holding up the market for him and whoever's left of decent value. I'm talking about. Higher numbers.
So if you're the Avalanche, is there like a deadline you need here? If you hit a certain point and Ehlers still hasn't signed, do you need to just move on, or do you think you're stuffing a lot of eggs in this Ehlers basket?
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the life in free agency, right? And then sometimes that's why you got to be careful with your eggs in one basket, right? And you got to be careful, and that's why relationships mean a lot. And sometimes, even though you have relationships, it doesn't mean that it's going to work, right? So
things don't work out more often than they do.
But a lot of times, you got to make that work before you can make the other piece work.
Sure.
And not vice versa, right? Because then you could be in trouble, right? You know what I mean? When you do it upside down. So I do believe they are in on it. Some people are saying they're not. They got to be in on it until you see someone.
What else are you waiting for if it's not that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, and then do you go towards a trade after? What do you go towards to? So we'll see. Time will tell. It's the 4th this weekend. Believe it or not, it does slow things down for some people. Not everyone's readily available. Everyone has barbecues. And then once you pass that, though, it's like, sometimes it tends to drag. Yeah. Because it's like, well, I'm gone for a week, and I'll talk to you in a week. Or,
we'll figure it out later,
And people play that way. Agents played that way, too. And Well, let's just wait. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and it's just a phone call. Like it takes 5 minutes when you think about it. So I don't know. We shall see. It's all deadlines. It's all trigger points. It's all BS. It's life in free agency. It just is what it is, right?
Yeah. To Sergeant Price's question there are still options out there. Pick your choice of who you like. Some have fallen off like Peltier, but Anthony Pavillier is still out there. That's someone you're interested in as a possible depth role for the Avs. There's a handful of other guys that on my mind is blanking on right now, but at least on the forward side, you have a number of different options depending on what you're looking for. Circling back around to Yoel Kiviranta could be on the table depending on what his market looks like.
My cat.
Meow. Where this gets tough is on that defensive side. Yes, Grzelcyk is still available. Yes, there's a couple of other names. Zach Jones, I think, is still out there.
I thought he signed yesterday.
Did he sign? Maybe. I could be forgetting.
Signed a 2-way deal.
Pick
somewhere.
John Merrill then. There's a few names to pick from. But I think a lot of... I won't speak for the Avalanche because internally I think... Certainly I think they like Keaton Middleton more than I do. But a lot of the fan base, myself, feels like the Avs maybe needed to be targeting a top 4 potential defenseman. And that's not available in free agency. It was barely available to begin with in free agency, and it certainly isn't available now. So if they are looking to target a higher-end defenseman, that's going to have to come through trade. And that's where the conversation starts to get complicated of what are you willing to move on from? And yes, the pie in the sky, if you get Ehlers and it makes sense to move on from Natchez, great. That's the simple plan. But realistically, the actual plan is probably going to end up being a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah. And then the beauty of, they're both tricky at times, but the beauty of free agency is you're dealing with the player and there's no other team involved. There's no other team involved. Are you good? But if
producer just almost fell over in her chair.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about.
At work.
And then the trade, you need a dance partner, right? And again, it gets trickier. It's a little tougher. But in a free agency, yeah, there's the player, but there's the agent, because then he's the agent that's talking to 16 other teams, right? So it can get tricky there too.
Yep.
But the transfer of assets, hence the transaction, like makes it a little trickier than just signing a guy. But we shall see. And you're trying to maneuver both right now. So,
an interesting question for Mind Reader here that I do want to touch on. If the Avs are truly in on Ehlers, which we believe they are, what is preventing them from doing other smaller deals first? They could still sign Ehlers and be over the cap with the offseason 10% while they work on shipping somebody out. Do you want to dive into that, E, or do you want me to take it first?
go ahead.
Okay. So everyone, yes, in theory, they could just start signing dudes and still be in on Ehlers. They have the cap space in the offseason to just be over the cap, and they could do that. But usually a lot of these things are a chain reaction, right? It's not just Ehlers is holding up his own conversation. There's an entire market of free agent forwards that are waiting for Ehlers to set the market and then see which teams come calling. So the one guy holding up the market actually causes a lot more of the market to also say, well, I'm going to wait it out and we're going to see what happens because we know someone's going to end up with Ehlers, but then all the other teams are going to be getting that much more desperate. So there's a pretty good chance that a lot of these other free agents are waiting out the market as well. That isn't to say, I'm sure there's some guys that would be willing to sign. We're seeing guys sign today on Cody Glass, for example.
Yeah.
But it's not as straightforward as, everyone else is just waiting for their turn to sign. They're saying, hey, if Ehlers gets $9 million, well, then maybe I want an extra $1 million, right?
Yeah. It's the player's number, the money that's taking place. It's what is, again, the Avs might be, like he's saying, plan A, and then plan B is a trade, right? Because we're trying to get something, and then we're trying to get another D. And
why else? Let me ask it to you this way: in the world where Ehlers is replacing Natchez, why else would you do it other than to get better at a different position? Because I think we all agree Natchez is probably a better forward than Ehlers.
Yeah.
But if you're sacrificing there to move Natchez for
whatever.
Thomas Chabot.
Yeah, sure.
That helps you on your defensive side in a spot that you maybe feel like you need to get better, where you can sacrifice a little bit on that wing spot because you feel comfortable at wing, right? You still want a top 6 guy there, which is Ehlers, but you have Landy, you have Lehkonen, you have Nichushkin.
Yep.
So I know everyone likes to make it as simple as possible, but the conversation isn't Ehlers or Necas. It's one of those guys, but if it's Ehlers, then what do you get for Necas?
That's right. And then you got the other teams waiting for you too, because then you're waiting to see if you can get that, or else you're not trading him there.
Right.
And so that's the logjam, you know, like
whether you want him to or not, you know, there are feelers out there where some teams have probably called and said, what's going on with Necas? And the conversation is, well, he might be available if Ehlers ends up coming, or maybe he's not. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, we're all speculating here, and everybody's speculating, and then guys are throwing stuff on social media, and you know, this guy's coming here, and then it makes you think, like Crosby, right? Or Necas is unhappy, and you know, and then you're looking whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, really, I mean, unless you were told by that player, you know, then you probably feel right about. We can all assume. It doesn't mean you're right. Of course. I mean, now you can assume, and then you can think, and you can look at the pattern. You know, it's always been complicated. Oh, there's a pattern. You know, I always wanted more this and more that, but it's never on him. I'm not talking about Marty. I'm showing examples over the years, right? And he could fall into kind of like that. So we'll see. We'll see as an organization. If you feel that, then you leave him alone. You try to lock him up, and that's what you're trying to do, because you don't want him to go in that year because it is complicated. And then he pulls a Kachuk, or he pulls, you know, like, I don't want to sign here. And then you got to trade him. Then it's later and you thought, and then you've already made different moves. Or it's a Marner that all of a sudden, again, Nick was a good centerman, but I mean, it's not the value of Mitch Marner, but, you know, he walked. And then it came out that they tried to trade him 2 years ago, cost him his job. That's what Dubas, I guess, was said, that he was trying to trade him and cost him his job. I mean, I buy that. So, but now all of a sudden it's late, and then, you don't get the assets you're supposed to have. So the Avalanche really they couldn't afford that with Mikko to not have the assets in return and let him walk. And so they're certainly not going to let Necas walk if that's the path they go down.
Right. Humans are logical most of the time, not all the time, but there is a pretty clear message sent when C-Mac traded Rantanen, right? Yeah. They said, we cannot afford to not get value for these players. Yeah. We cannot afford to lose them for nothing in free agency. Mm-hmm. And if that's the approach that the Avs are taking with Necas, look, I don't know what Necas wants. If Necas wants to sign for $8 million, he'll sign tomorrow, and the Avs will love it, and everyone will be happy, and it's awesome. But if Necas wants some amount of money that the Avs can't afford to give him, then the Avs are going to do what they have to do. So I don't know either way. And on that front, that's not even the primary conversation of today. The conversation of today is more about what are the Avs going to do with free agency first and foremost, because I do think figuring out the pieces that they are acquiring without a trade is probably the first order of business, whether that's Ehlers or Bavillier or some other piece that I haven't mentioned or it's out of left field, whatever. The Avs have the ability to walk the salary cap line a little bit better this offseason than they have in previous years. Yeah, LOC's money is sort of there, but you're not talking about walking into this season with $13 million of mystery money like Landeskog's contract and Nichushkin's suspension. You have a much more clear path of what you can do with your money. Yeah. It's just that we from the outside haven't seen them use that money yet. Yep. So they're going to have to use it on something eventually. And I know nobody likes waiting, but Ehlers is kind of the holdup for, and it's not just the Avs. It's not just, I know Carolina and Washington is the rumor that says it's what it's down to, which I don't know that I believe necessarily, but it's not just the teams that are in on Ehlers that are waiting for this. Again, it's the entire market is waiting for this to set it. Yep. So that every piece down the lineup, you're going to see let's say Carolina gets them. Washington's going to have to pivot to other options. The Avs are going to have to pivot to other options. Down the list, teams are going to be pivoting to other options of what else is available to make a play on. I don't know. I think the situation is a lot more complicated than people are giving it credit for. It's easy to just say, oh, well, Ehlers will be the difference. Yes, but there's also a lot else going on behind the scenes there.
Very hard to put all together.
We do need to take our first break of the show, so let's make sure we get on over and do that. Look, I don't know. I don't make as much money as hockey players. I wish I did, but I don't. So I don't have that kind of money. But if you are working as a business owner, which you can have a business owner that doesn't make that much money, totally fair. But if you are a business owner, you might want to check out Cake Mortgage. Look, for me, it's easy. My W-2 has my income on it, shows on my tax return. Simple. I don't have to think. But for people who have more complicated situations, such as business owners, you can maximize legitimate business deductions and expenses. They can reduce their taxable income and keep more money in their business, which is, good for your money flow. But also it makes it weird when it comes to mortgages because that means their tax returns show very little income and most lenders don't understand that complex income. So they get denied. Cake, on the other hand, knows what to do. They can get business owners approved by validating your cash flow through bank statements, certified profit and loss statements, or business tax returns. It's also great for not just business owners, but creative professionals, contractors, tech entrepreneurs, freelancers, anyone who eats what they hunt. Go check them out and get with Cake Mortgage today with the link down in the description of this video. Cake Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1734623. Licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Of course, terms and conditions apply. And then, sometimes you've got to take care of the finances. Other times you got to kick back and relax. Choose chill. Maybe you just finished a tough day at development camp. Kick back with the Coors Light in your hand here in Colorado.
I like it.
Blue Mountains on the bottle of the can to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink. Is Dell'elce 21?
He's 20.
Okay, maybe don't drink then. But
no.
He deserves a beer if he was of age. He's got a nice scar on his nose. Went into the boards hard today. If you're 21 and you had a tough shift, go get yourself a Coors Light. Jump on with them. You don't even have to go get it. I say go get it. You can go right from your couch. Go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Thanks to Instacart, you can get it delivered right to your front door. Jump in with Coors Light today. Go try them if you haven't. I mean, everyone here has. It's right. It's a Denver brewed beer. If you haven't had Coors Light, what are we doing? Why are we even here? Go get yourself some. CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Make the most of the times you choose chill. Of course, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast.
Mason Appleton, Detroit.
Yeah, sure. Oh, did he go to Detroit? Man, Detroit every year, Detroit just signs a bunch of dudes, don't they?
2 years.
I can never, it's not like they have a plan. It just feels like they just sign a bunch of guys.
I wonder what he got.
Yeah, did they not say the AV? I bet it's like around 3. That would be my guess.
Yeah, 2.9.
2.5, 2.9? Okay, yeah, so it's basically right there. Close enough. We can get back to the free agency talk in a minute. I do want to transition a little bit and talk about Dev Camp, which we were at today. We got to see a bunch of the Avs skaters, new guys, returning guys, a bunch of different things. The number one thing I want to start out, and this is not a knock on anyone that was there. Avs prospect pool pretty thin, man. You show up at that Dev Camp and there are a lot of names that you're like, who's this guy again?
Yeah, I mean, and it's perfectly normal. I mean, right, as we saw Friday, right? We just saw Friday. I mean, if you have a day like that, then you don't have 8-9 picks. Then, you don't have guys coming to development camp.
True.
So then you'll get some invites and you're like, who's that? Who's that? Try to build relationships. It's normal. They've gone for it. They've gone for it a few years. You're going back to their 2022 Cup year. So your cupboards are empty. You know what I mean? And then they are. They are because the draft picks are gone or the people they've selected in those draft slots are gone.
Yep.
Or have been used for trades. So in the meantime, yeah, I mean, usually it's like if you're like, I don't know, Look at the Islanders, just because you're on a rebuild or whatever. It's like, oh my God, look at this, Heisman Schaefer. Oh, Aitchison, whatever his name is. It's cool. Aitchison, you're like, oh my God, but that means it didn't go well on the ice. Usually.
Not wrong.
It's usually related. So you're in the business to win that silver thing, which is the last game of the season. So you're not in the competition to see who's got the most draft picks. But I get it. It catches up to you at some point, and it's going to catch up to them. But in the meantime, they still do good with college free agency. I think Mike Battaglia has done a great job there heading that port, whatever you want to call that. The Sam Malinskis, and those are important signings. They're very important signings, and it makes a difference. Even going back to Logan, right?
Yeah.
It just makes a difference. And if they can keep doing that, if they can keep hitting a few guys, not physically hit them because that's not supposed to do that, but
you usually want those guys to hit you.
Yes.
And show some physicality.
And then if you can just go and hopefully, they've struck, who knows? Again, there's a couple signings that they did, and they take the older guy that runs into the boards today. Kidding. I like him. I saw him live twice. He's a good player.
Tough toe pick. Toe pick.
He said he was because he had new blades. Because I was like, Carvel, I'm like, a coach doesn't give you the blades at UMass? Then he's like, no. I goes, they're new. And that's probably why I toe picked, which he's right. All of a sudden, the whatever you want to call that, the word in English.
I don't know.
Whatever.
The current, I don't know. I'm not a good English major, so.
So, all good. But yeah, exciting. Exciting to be there, and it's always fun to be in the rink, and it's the last step before rookie camp, right? And it's good for those kids to learn and to get to know people, and to form relationships with the staff. So
keep in mind, look, this is a dev camp. They do a few drills, they do some skating stuff. I'll give you my thoughts here on the show, but take an entire salt shaker of context with it, because there's not any game situations at all really on a day like today. So you're looking at drills. That's realistically what it is when you're trying to analyze anything from dev camp. Number one thing, no first round picks here, either because they've graduated out of dev camps like an Oscar Lausen, or Gulyayev stayed in Russia. It didn't come over for this one. So the highest picked player that was at this for the Avs was Sean Behrens as a second rounder. Mm-hmm. And his situation is he's coming off of a ACL injury from last year, was wearing a no contact at this event. I don't have a ton to say on him, just good to see him back out on the ice. And hopefully this is another step towards his recovery of getting into Eagles games next season properly.
That's the word you said, recovery, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's different. My buddy did it in 6 months. My buddy did it in 12 months. My buddy, it's what you're going to do it in. And that's your body telling you when you're ready for the next step. Obviously, he's in a red non-contact sweater. You can tell. I like Sean. You can tell the hands are trying to catch up right now to the feet, and trying to see where you're at. And it's still July, got time. But he missed a full season. It's a crucial development year. This is your first year pro. He's a good player. He played for championship teams at DU. He played in big games. Sean's a competitor. But he missed the full season. So you're not a rookie anymore, but you are. And you are having not played as well by that time, it will be, say, 15 months, 16 months, whatever it is.
Shit,
I'm talking about from
12,
the injury, right? Because while you're going...
I mean, what do
you played?
Do you count his preseason scrimmages and stuff?
Like, I was going back to the DU championship.
His actual real game will have been like 16 months.
Yeah, that's my point. So you fall behind. I don't care if your name's Wayne Gretzky, Gabe Landeskog, Sean Behrens. You fall behind.
Yeah.
And that's normal. But that's why he's getting himself back. And that's why you're working hard. And that's why it's tough mentally. Now you're a rookie with the Eagles, but you haven't played a game. So are you really part of it? Which I know you are. I'm talking about, but you're not. You haven't played.
Yeah.
So it's different. So it's a weird feeling. So if I'm him, I prepare myself to go down there and to play as much minutes as I can in situations that I can. Hopefully the new coach yet has not been named down there, for that matter, or assistant coach down there. for that matter, or assistant coach for the Avalanche for that matter, which that will come, I'm here shortly. I mean, I'm pretty sure shortly. But all of a sudden for Sean, don't think. Go play. Go make mistakes. Go make good plays. Don't worry about, don't get down. Don't have a seesaw. Just even keel. Not go ebbs and flows. So don't want that. You want to have, and park yourself down there and say to yourself, you're not getting called up. And that's the way you got to look at it, because they might feel you're not ready because, again, you've missed 16 months of hockey. So be ready to get out there. Be ready to make mistakes. Be ready to, fix your mistakes. Be ready to compete. Be ready to get better every day. And then if your name's called by the end of the year or whatever it is that you need to be, then great, awesome. You've earned an opportunity to go play in the National Hockey League. But don't right now waste your time analyzing and thinking. You need to get out there. You need to get out there in reps. You need to get out there in making decisions. You need to get out there in situations. Once he does that, get his brain back. I'm sure the leg is going to be back. It's not the end of the day ACL surgeries anymore. It's not like back then, right? So, yeah. But again, it's still an ACL surgery, right? So it's still a major surgery. So get out there, get your game back on, have some fun, have some confidence, be a leader, see where it takes you, but don't have expectations to be, I want to get called up before Christmas,
Yep.
Don't look at it that way.
Let's move on because, my primary focus at these events is the Avs draft picks. Those are the guys I usually hone in on, particularly their two new ones. Yep. Unfortunately, Rode, while he is here, is not skating at the event.
Boot on, right?
So was not able to see him play, but we did see Dell'elce and Funck get out on the ice and play a little bit. We'll start with Dell'elce. He's the third rounder. Probably the guy that popped the most to me, of the Avs prospects at this thing. Again, some guys like Taylor McCarr weren't out on the ice, so take it for whatever you want. But yeah, he does go crashing into the boards, has to leave, and you'll hear from him in a second. He didn't get stitches, but had to get it glued up. And he still comes back and finishes the practice. You got to give him a little bit of credit of, hey, he's willing to tough that out and get out there and do what he needs to do instead of just not coming back and saying he was done for the day. But also, he's got some pop to his game. Yes, it's just drills. But when you compare some of the other defensemen that are here to him, you can see there's a little bit of flourish on the puck. You can see the edges are tight. He was a guy I enjoyed watching today.
Yeah, same with you. Same as you. I saw him live twice this year at UMass there. My buddy Carvey, they're the coach. Yeah, good edges. Not afraid. Very nice personality, as you can tell, as you're going to be able to see here coming up. But I don't care. You're 18, 19. Some people are getting down a little bit yesterday on drafting a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old. Look, I mean, for me, even though I'm not that familiar with the player I'm going to say right now, I would probably consider him the best Avs prospect. That would be Nabokov.
Sure.
So you're talking about a 20-year-old draft pick last year, like a last attempt at getting drafted, and it's the same thing with our friend here, Topik. But at the end of the day, he's older, but he's going to play college hockey. He played college hockey last year as a 19-year-old. Now he's 20. Again, that's excellent. It's a tough league, and he did well. And again, raw, sitting in the stands, no notes, not knowing who he is. I remember coming out of it and wanted to go see my buddy after the game, and it's the same thing. It was like, hey, what about this dude? And it's like, oh yeah. And then you watch him more the next game, and you're like, this guy can play. This guy can play. That's why he's a freshman. That's why he's got his place in the lineup. That's why he's a very important part of their decor that, Cale Makar used to be part of. So they do well with defensemen there. Mario Ferraro, obviously Cale. They do well. Kid got traded yesterday too. Right shot, Carolina to New York. He's part of that trade, Keandre
Not
Miller.
Keandre, the guy with the other
guy, yeah. That's
Sorry.
another. I don't
have
too many names right now.
Memory.
UMass, it does well. It's a great program in hockey. So he seems like a wonderful.
Fabro?
No.
He's the one you always forget.
No, but he got traded yesterday on the Keandre Miller trade.
I'll look it up.
So it was a first, a second,
and Scott Morrow.
Scott Morrow was their captain 2 years ago at UMass. So this kid can play, meaning I've seen him play. Not at development camp. I've seen him play in college hockey. This kid can play. He's got a nice personality. And
let me ask you this.
I don't care that he's 18 or 19.
Avs prospect pool. Nabokov's probably at the top of it. Guliev's probably up there. Who do you have at number 3? Is it Barons?
I think Sean has to be there. Okay. Forget about last year because he didn't play. It's not his fault. But from going back to what I would say probably there, yeah.
Okay. And then Dell'elce 4?
I would have him right there. This guy can play. And then you meet him in person. Infectious personality. Nice kid. Sharp. And then, he does those drills. Yes, it is development camp drills. It's skills drills. It's not hockey. It's skills drills. It's stick and puck, right? That's what that is. It doesn't.
There's a certain type of player that's going to pop in those situations.
But exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And some guys pop, they just can't play.
Yeah.
This guy can play. I've seen him play. So that's the difference between some of those kids that I never seen him play. I've seen him go around a tire. Like I said, I think you and I would look good around.
Maybe you, buddy. I wouldn't look good around going around the tire. I'll tell you that.
Still got the hands. I can't.
We're about to talk about Linus Funck skating, and I guarantee you he'd look like a superstar next to my skating. So we will get into that in a minute, but we do need to take another break here first. So let's make sure we pay our bills before we, I don't know where that was going. What I do know is, look, it's hard work building an ice rink, all right? You got to put down all the ice. First of all, don't turn your house into an ice rink. Get actual good floors. But when you're doing that, go get with Empire today. You can use the code DNVR to get $350 off your new floors with Empire today. When you check them out at empiretoday.com/DNVR, of course, you can get a hold of them any number of other ways too, but they have the flooring experts there. All of the stuff you need. Quality floors, tile, hardwood, carpet. They only carry the best products, so you don't put the junk in your house. They've got the floor you actually want. Again, like I mentioned, you can go to empiretoday.com to check them out there. You can use their online tools, or you can also schedule a free in-home estimate because some things are just better at home. And when they come out, they'll bring swatches. You can see the floors in your home. You can see it in the space with your furniture. Make sure the color's right. Make sure it looks good there. So get with them. Go get the free in-home estimate today. That DNVR code can get you $350 off. You heard that right, a $350 discount with code DNVR over at empiretoday.com/DNVR. Of course, restrictions apply. See details at empiretoday.com/DNVR. Or always, you can call 1-800-588-2300-EMPIRE. And once you've got your floors, you're also going to need your cars, all right? I don't know if you guys have ever had your floors replaced. It's like a whole day thing. You have to get out of your house and get out of their way to do it. So jump into your Toyota, or if you don't have one, go on over to your Front Range Toyota stores. Of course, Toyota has a vehicle for everyone. They've been doing trucks forever. It's in their DNA. You can choose any number of their trucks. You can also get their SUVs or their sedans. They've got choices for everyone. And regardless of the type of the vehicle, 17 different models with all-wheel or four-wheel drive that you can jump into, go off-road, or just have the confidence in that road when it's slick and slushy in Colorado style. If you're looking for a way to save money on gas, 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, and Toyota offers more low and zero emission vehicles than any other automaker. So go get with them today at your local Front Range stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corbin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevens Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevens Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official vehicle of us here at DNVR and the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. Let's go places. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Before we talk about Linus Funck, we also talked to Dell'elce after Dev Camp today. So let's see what his crooked nose had to say about Avs Dev Camp. Francesco or Francesco?
Francesco.
Okay. Dell'elce?
Dell'elce.
Cool. Appreciate it. Francesco Dell'elce, you're the top draft pick for the Avs this year, even if it is in the third round. Took a little bit of a spill there. Good to see you're okay. Looks like you got stitched up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of glue, but yeah, I'm going to try not to do that one again. Doesn't feel too good.
Well, we know you're tough at least if you're coming back out there for practice from that. You guys worked on a lot of different things today. Skating at altitude, easy adjustment, or you're breathing heavy a little bit?
At times you definitely notice it, but I don't think it's been too much of a trouble.
The Avs obviously have multiple connections with UMass. You coming out of there if you're freshman year. Can you just speak a little bit towards that UMass program and what you guys have done over the last, I guess, through your freshman year?
Yeah, mean, I think the program does a great job developing all their players, defensemen especially, for the next level. I mean, Coach Carvel and the staff have done it time and time again, so I'm super fortunate to be there and grateful for everything they've done for me so far. And, I think, I've taken tremendous steps this year because of that, so I'm super happy to be there and everything they're doing.
What's your next step heading into your sophomore year over at UMass?
I think I just want to continue to grow into a more impactful role offensively and defensively. Just continuing to grow my defensive game, and then even continue to produce offensively as well.
If you could describe your game for the Avs fans out there, what would you say you are?
I'm a two-way mobile D-man who breaks pucks out well, can contribute offensively.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Bruto, by the way.
He looks like a nice kid, man.
Yeah, he kind of jacked, too.
Yeah, I'm going to call him Dulce Dell'elce now. He's my name.
There you
He's
go.
my guy.
The shirt in the making right there someday.
Dulce
Bring us
Dell'elce.
some dose leches.
I like him.
The other guy from this draft, Linus Funck, look, I think this is an interesting conversation because the Avs certainly have a type when it comes to drafting defensemen. They're looking for really good skating. They're usually on the smaller side. There's a good amount of smoothness to their game. Dell'elce right there, but also guys like Torrey Pittner, Chris Romaine, a bunch of very smooth skating guys. Funck is not that. His skating is not amazing. There is some footwork that isn't great on that guy, and that's look. It is what it is. There are plenty of defensemen that have been successful with poor footwork. Connor Timmins comes to mind immediately for me if you're talking about a guy in the Avs system. But what Funck brings that the Avs don't have a lot of in their system is big size, and I don't think Funck is the most physical big guy. But what we saw a lot of today. He uses every inch of that giant wingspan on defense. He's able to have an active stick. He's able to get it in there. And I know some of these things we already knew, but when you get to see it in person, it hits a little bit differently.
Yeah, obviously overseas, different upbringing.
Yeah.
They play defense a different way. You said it. You saw it today. His rights were taken in London, right?
Yeah, London took him in the import draft.
Yep. So that could be a destination for him. Who knows? I'm not starting rumors. I'm saying it could be a destination for him. I like guys when they take their time, but I also like when they come over, right? I like when they come over and get North Americanized, to the style of play here for American League, NHL, all that kind of stuff. Or if you're not good enough yet, then the CHL or NCAA so it's important, but you're right. I can't say that I've seen him play. I can't say I've ever watched a shift from him. I have not yet. But interesting to see. Good size, good pick. It seems like Nick and his staff, probably they did a good job. You know what I mean? With those
what they had to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look at the grades you get. What is it? ESPN, they get, it's a D- and third. It's like, guys, you see what they had to work with? And I'm not blaming anyone.
When you have
for
a
that.
draft round that's a third, a fourth, and a seventh, how can you give them anything but an incomplete?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
But what if you strike? What if you strike with 2 out of 3 there that actually have a career? Then you did your job. So far, so good. It's been 4 days. We'll talk in 4 years to see where they're at. But I think for Nick, for what they were given, probably they did a good job.
Yeah,
I think him and his staff did a good job.
They've done a decent job of finding variable options. Like that's, you're trying to cover bases when you do have a thin prospect pool.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of defensemen that fit one archetype. All right, you look at a Funck and go try and find a different archetype. And I do think there are skills there that fit the Avs too.
For sure.
Breakout looks comfortable on, getting pucks going the right direction looks comfortable on. Was not afraid. They really didn't do too many contract drills, but on the few where battling for net front position and stuff, he was willing to do what he needed to, and was also one of the guys I noticed that very talkative, very communicative with the coaches, especially for a guy that he speaks English fine. You'll hear him in a minute, but isn't maybe first language English. You see him confirming stuff, engaged with the coaches, wanting follow-up attention on how to do a drill or how to do this skating thing.
I'm not saying that when you're shy. I'm saying that, but when you are out of your shell, it helps with your development. So you can tell those two dudes are not shy.
For sure.
Heard it. They like to play cards. They like, it's nice. You know what I mean? So they're not like, sitting in their room. And so I like that. And then, and even go back to Dell'elce there, you ask him and he's like, no question. I break pucks out.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, all right, I like that. That's swag. He knows what he's got.
Okay, let's hear from Linus here. And Eric mentioned it. I asked him about London. You guys can hear what he had to say.
Is it Linus or Linus?
You say Linus in Sweden, but...
Okay, we'll go with Linus.
Yeah.
Linus Funck, Avs draft pick from this most recent year. First of all, congratulations on getting drafted. How's your first dev camp so far?
Yeah, really fun. I mean, it's been really fun just to go on the ice and meet all the new people, so it's been super fun.
You guys working on a little bit of everything. You're getting the skating at altitude today. How is the high mountains up here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difference. I mean, it's pretty hard to breathe.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you get into it the more you skate. So already feel better after last day. So.
You played for Swedish juniors last year. Just today, drafted by the London Knights in the OHL import draft. Is that the plan for this season, or do you know where you're going to play this year?
Well, nothing's done. I mean, sure. I think it's just how do you say, like a possibility.
Sure.
So I mean, I heard only good things about London. I mean, most of the guys here say, yeah, that's a perfect place to be. So, I mean, that helps. So,
sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Do you have any goals set for this year now that you're an NHL draftee officially?
No, I just want to just keep playing my game and just keep getting better at the stuff that I'm already good at, and also my weaknesses. So just keep getting better and not stress too much. Just keep playing.
Could you explain who you are as a player, as a new Av?
I would say I'm a offensive, two-way defenseman. The good passing and likes to join the rush. I mean, can play the power play, box play, everything. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody thinks they're the two-way guy that can do a little bit of everything, don't they? So, not that he can't do it. I'm not saying that.
No, because you come from that environment.
Yeah.
Then now you've started to figure out what's my specialty.
Sure. Lock in.
You go lock it in. Because if you're just good at everything, it's rare, you got to bring something.
I do think an interesting point in his interview that he said, he's like, hey, I know I got weaknesses to work on, but I also want to work on improving the things that I'm good at.
100%. 100%. And that's a great point there, because some people they're so focused on their weaknesses because that's what they're told. And they're told they work on it. And then, okay, so they get a little bit better there, but all of a sudden their strengths become borderline weaknesses now because they haven't been working on that. So yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's like the game of golf, right? I said it the other day. You got to put the whole package
If it was easy,
together.
would it be worth doing? I mean,
Everybody else would do it. Everybody would do it.
all right. We do have one more interview from day 2 of Dev Camp, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Let me ask you, what's it like being a goalie? I know you weren't a goalie, but these Dev Camp things do not look like they're the most fun for goalies.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you're going in there and, I think it's just a camaraderie. And you got your little group and they're lucky here, Biller and, I think Mike as well on the goalie department. And
Frankie was out there with him today.
Frankie's out there, won a cup a couple years ago. So the guys that are there, if they followed the NHL the last few years, then they know Pavel Francouz, because they've watched him play. And it's kind of nice to be out there. And you got, obviously the guys that you're playing cards at night and, going to do activities with and sharing a locker room with to shoot on you. But then also like during goalie drills, you got the Milan Haydukes, you know what I mean? Like,
By the way, still got it.
Still a guy. You can still shoot a puck. I don't care what people say. Those goalies we're talking about, like they're like, again, it's the release, right? You don't know where it's going. As a goalie, it's like, if you've never seen anything like that, it's like, it's a first. And for some of those kids, it was a first to be shot at by a 50-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. And they're like, yeah, I still can't understand what he does. And again, that's an art. That's why you score 50 in the NHL. And for those guys, it's more to learn and have fun and, get to know the staff. And, if you're drafted or, if you're like Max and invite, then you form relationships and see where it takes you. And, and you go from there. Everybody's got a path. Everybody's got a different way to their development. Everybody's got a different time to their development, and then you got to do what you try to do, what's best for you. And for goalies, you're right, but at least there's 4 or 5 of them. They're fun. They're together and they're having fun with it. And it's a relaxed environment, and you get to go to practice and get a nice filet mignon, with some baked potato there in the locker room for lunch. It's not a bad life for a few
What do you
days.
call
It's
it?
not a bad
What do you
life.
call the league?
The NHL, the Never Hungry League.
That's correct.
That's right.
We did talk to E's son, Max Lacriox, who is here as a goalie at Dev Camp. He looked good out there. He's also, the most familiar guy with these locker rooms. So let's talk to Maxie.
Back in your old stomping grounds. Is it a little weird being at a Dev Camp in the locker room you grew up in?
Yeah, definitely a little weird. My first birthday party was actually in this locker room, so definitely some familiar grounds for me, but really excited to be back.
You went to LA's Dev Camp last year. Can you kind of compare and contrast what you're doing here compared to what you had last season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every camp is different. LA, they had a few more scrimmages and stuff like that, where this week it's more based on like educational and really teaching us the Avalanche way and the Avalanche values. So it's definitely a little different, but just really excited to be home, and it's definitely a different feel for me as well.
These Dev Camps usually put the shine on the forwards, the guy with all the skill. What's it like from the goalie side trying to work on your game at something like this?
Oh, it's been great. Matt Sava's been great. We also have some good shooters out there. Milan Hajduk shooting on us, so definitely
hard to stop that.
A lot of fun. Yeah, no, but they have a lot of goalie emphasis this week, which is nice. We skate on our own at the start of every day. Pavel Francouz is out there as well, and we've been doing some mental training with him as well, so it's been really good for us.
You mentioned Francouz, obviously transition for the Avs over to the coaching side of things. Is there anything specific you guys take from an NHL goalie like that, or is it individual pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. He's made himself available to us all week, so he always asks, tells us if we ever have any questions to just reach out to him, and so it's been really cool to be able to pull from someone that was in the league, so recently. And yeah, I mean, he's faced a lot of good shooters as well, a lot of good players here with Nathan McKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog, guys like that. So it's been really cool to take a lot of tips from him.
You meeting up with any of your old friends back in Colorado, or is it just the hockey boys you're hanging out with?
Yeah, I've seen a few buddies in the stands actually, so it's been good to kind of be back home. I haven't been back home in almost a year now, so really nice when I flew in to see all the familiar places, and I love Colorado, such a beautiful state, and family sports, to be back here. Like you said, I've skated here thousands and thousands of times, so it's very familiar to me, but still exciting every time I go out there. So.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. He's got it down. Raised a good one, E.
He knows how to talk.
Spoken like his dad. Yeah, it is what it is. Dev Camp is an interesting thing because it really is, for a lot of these guys, their first steps with this organization. Max is lucky enough to have been to LA's Dev Camp last year, so he kind of knows the way around a Dev Camp, but it's still, you're adjusting to new coaches, new assistants, new training guys, every little bit of it. I mean, this is just one of the things that impresses me most about not just these guys, but all high-level athletes, is that ability to adjust to whatever the situation is. If I was a pro athlete and got traded, I would have melted down. Like, my career would have ended right then because I couldn't handle the change. I wouldn't be able to adjust.
It's hard. It's hard, and that's why I tell you guys all the time. Like, the glory is there. Yeah, because it's a public setting, right? It's sports, right? So it's out there in the open, but there's a lot of tough parts that you don't get to see, and it's hard. But there's a lot of people that want to do it. And I always say, if you don't want to do it, then somebody else is doing it.
That's absolutely true.
And when you're sleeping in because you went out too late that night and you can't get up in the morning, and somebody else is doing the work.
You're not wrong.
And they're getting ahead of you. And that's life. And it's worldwide. It's a worldwide sport. So, yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of competition.
I got to do my work because we got to hit our final break of the show here. So,
We're off Friday.
We do have a day off this week. No 4th of July show for us. We are, though, brought to you by the folks over at First Bank. If you're looking for banking that plays at your pace, whether you're tailgating, grabbing halftime snacks, or catching the game from the couch, First Bank is in your corner. While their secure, easy-to-use mobile banking app, you can check your balance, split the tab on Stadium Nachos, and stay on top of your money anytime, anywhere. It's like having a financial MVP in your pocket. And here's the play that pays. You can get up to $300 when you open an account with First Bank. It's a checking account specifically, and you can use it to score tickets to whatever sporting event you're going to or whatever keeps your game day going strong. First Bank makes managing your money feel like a win. No games, just solid tools to help you stay in control right from your phone. If you're ready to take your banking game to the next level, you can head to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus. Certain restrictions and requirements apply. Member FDIC. And once you've taken care of your money with Mando, you got to make sure you're taking care of your smell. Wait, I did it backwards. Mando doesn't take care of your money. Mando takes care of your smells. Trust me on that one. And it's not, look. Okay, money can solve everything, right? That's at a certain point. Like getting yourself the Mando starter kit. It's actually quite cheap. You don't need very much money. And you can even get $5 off with code DNVR over at Mando. Make sure you get with them. The starter kit comes with both a cream deodorant and a tube deodorant, as well as 2 items of your choice, whether that's deodorant wipes or a body wash. Mando has got it for you, whether it's cleaning your butts, your balls, your butt cracks, your grundles, every part of your body. They mean that seriously over at Mando. So make sure you get with them. Again, that DNVR code gets you $5 off, which is 40% off of their starter kit. Jump in at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. And please use that DNVR code to let them know we sent you over there. Support the show, support us, get yourself smelling right from head to toe with Mando. Last period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast here. Are we really? All right, let me ask you this, E, because if this Ehlers thing isn't done by tomorrow, and I'm not even saying the Avs get him or not, just that next wave of action that comes in free agency, if it's not done by tomorrow, I'm gonna be needing some acid reflux pills. It's gonna get it a little nervy for me.
Well, get it because it might, and I've seen it. And then some other guys are in on Ehlers too, and they're probably telling themselves too, if we don't get them, then we're going the trade route.
Sure.
And that's when the phone rings to CMAC, right? Oh, is it true Natchez wants out? Is it true? Right? Again, I'm not here to spread rumors because it's not fair. I don't know. But I do know that if internally Marty's saying that he wants $1 gazillion, $1 billion, and it's not going to happen. Didn't give it to Mikko, not going to give it to him. And this, that, then you're moving on from them, then, okay, then you're ready. And don't worry about it. They're ready. And they've done their homework. And they are PO'd right now from their loss. And they want to fix it. And if that means that that's what they're fixing, and he's the guy that they're using, and again, he might sign an extension tomorrow. And it's a number that satisfies everybody, and he's here, and he's an Av for the next year. Awesome. I like Marty Party. I'm not advocating the trade. I'm just saying. But yeah, if I'm a GM and I'm losing on Ehlers, I'm calling CMAC because I'm like, hey, what are you doing with that guy?
Here's a top 6 winger that could potentially be available.
That guy?
For the record, from what I've heard, all of the stuff about Natchez potentially not liking Colorado is completely untrue. Yep. That's coming from my mouth, so it means whatever you want it to mean.
Or mine,
but
so it doesn't matter. But,
that's what I've heard on that front. I don't know about any of that. The money is what the money is, especially when we're living in this market where, you know what? Natchez just saw a bunch of dudes sign some pretty big contracts this free agency. Granlund just got $7 million. Maybe he's saying, look, I have a good year. The cap goes up again and I could get 10, 11, whatever.
And again, I'm glad you're saying this, and it just popped in my head. And then what did we see this week? A big component in the National Hockey League to win is to stick together. And to stick together, spoken like a true player, like easier said than done sometimes, but those guys left money on the table. Bennett, Ekblad. I don't want to hear about the tax. This is not a tax conversation.
Also, they're like $3 million over the cap right now. Let's not pretend like they brought them all back and everybody gets to stay.
No, but I mean, of course, somebody's going to go. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, okay, you gave 6 years. Is it 6 to
It is
Marchand?
6.
He's going
He'll
to be 53, whatever.
at the end of
Like,
that deal. It's outrageous.
God, I love Marshy. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, he's not playing at the end there, but whatever. Like somebody said, he's going to be a $5 million skills coach.
Yep.
LTIR
retirement, baby.
He won't be able to move anymore. I mean, if he plays that hard at 4 foot tall, come on, there'll be nothing left in that lemon to squeeze, right? So of course they went around it that way, but they did it. And at the end of the day, they all left money on the table. They all did.
Absolutely.
So did McKinnon. So did McCarr. And that's why I'm not going back to Mikko. But at the end of the day, I understand you make your money once. It's a short career. I understand that. But if you want to say you want to win, in order to win, Sam Reinhart, they all did. They all left some there so they can all fit and they can all win. So
another guy that might have impact on this Avs season, Gabe Landeskog, left some money on the table too.
There you go. So I'm just saying.
You got to want to be there and you got to want to be part of it if you want to win. I'll put it to you that way.
Say you're about winning or you can show you're about winning, but we'll see.
Well, to win, the Avs do have to get through a Game 7 eventually.
Yeah.
That is a thing that does have to happen. Look, I am confident in what he said earlier. Whether they end up with Ehlers or not, the Avs have backup plans, plural. They have multiple avenues of what they're going to go do next. But yeah, it's a bit unnerving that you're sitting here late afternoon of July 2nd and they have signed essentially no one meaningful to their NHL roster at this point. I would be shocked if they end up doing nothing. Again, if it's not Ehlers, they're going to pivot to whichever guys they like for a middle six option, or maybe they go different trade routes, look at whatever they might. But if that is the case, in a world where the Avs do nothing this offseason, that would be really disappointing. I think you would be pretty down on where the Avs sit if they go into October 1st with a lineup that is essentially the same defense as last year minus Lindgren, and a forward core that if they do nothing, you're talking about a fourth line that includes Ivan, you pick a guy, whoever you want out of their fringy depth guys, Prishchapov, or I don't know. I guess you could call up like a Tynan or someone. Who am I forgetting?
Steinberg.
Thank you.
I like Steinberg.
And look, don't get me wrong. I like those guys. Yeah. I hope the Avs can get guys out of those prospects. But if you show up to opening day and all three of those guys are in your lineup, you're lacking depth. You just are.
Yep. And somebody's saying time for Bednar to prove he can coach. I think he proved that last year as a staff with what they were icing as a lineup and what they had in net. Again, not being rude here. What they had in net. Wow. I mean, they were still alive and in the playoff race.
He's the winningest coach in Avs history.
So, I'm not
and that includes
defend.
16-17, the worst season in Avs history.
I'm not here to defend Jared, but because at some point, and he knows that, you got to start winning, right? I know your cup won you for a little bit, but now you got to get back to it. But
an interesting point from Cujo here that I kind of want to wind down the show on. Avs have still yet to fill their assistant coaching position and the head coaching position in the AHL.
Yep.
Do we expect this to get filled soon? What's the timeline on the Avs filling these on-ice spots?
My thought process is it's soon because now you probably maybe Jared had something or meetings here or whatever it is. It didn't work out. I think they were in on other dudes. Coaches, and it didn't work out. They went and took jobs somewhere else, and then it kind of threw their plan off a little bit. And then, of course, there's no more hockey right now, so you're not waiting on anyone like in the American League. And as of last week, I think it's going to get done here. Obviously, they had free agency and everything. I think this is something that's getting done this week and wrap up.
All right, so expect it soon, TM. The usual.
Say,
You never know, but it could happen. I don't know. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot else to talk about as free agency just kind of keeps ticking on the clock here.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Do we see another Avalanche trade this week?
This week. You have Ehlers' phone number? Just to see what he's doing.
If I had that number, I'd be calling it
if we
nonstop,
knew that,
buddy.
then I would give you my answer. I'm going to give you a cop-out answer. I think it's all tied to him.
Okay.
I think it's all tied to him. But, yeah. And if not, you might have to wait till September because it gets pretty quiet.
It's going to be an antsy off season, maybe, buddy.
It is, and that's the hard part. That's why it's the craziest job. 32 guys that are... Oof, I raise my hat to them. Those are tough jobs.
So look, I always say there's a reason I sit here and they sit in the offices.
It's a hard job. It's not for everybody.
We are going to get out of here for the day. We appreciate everyone hanging out. I know the times have been weird, but that's just life in the off season. We got to make it work. So our shows are here, even if you miss it live. You can watch it anytime on YouTube. We appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe. If you really like us, consider becoming a diehard. We got a great deal going on right now. You can become a diehard for a great price. Go check it out. AJ's pieces have been amazing lately on the written side. You're going to want to read them. We'll see you. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, and we are back tomorrow around the same time-ish, depending on Dev Camp.
We all silly like the mayor.